welcome back to today's video. Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Shells, and if you love all things sewing and fashion, then you are in the right place. We are on a wardrobe building journey over here, and in today's video I'm going to be showing you how you can go from this to this. So I'm kind of getting into my spring summer sewing now, and I want to add some basics and sort of elevated basics to my wardrobe, the warmer seasons that are coming. And I was browsing on Pinterest for some inspiration, and I seen this lovely top by a brand called Khaite. It's called the Zuri top. It's off the shoulder top. It has some gathered detailing and a straight silhouette, and I thought it was such a nice top. Very elevated, very elegant as well. It's a top that can definitely be dressed up and down. I can see it being worn throughout all the seasons, not just spring and summer, but it's definitely one that I looked at and thought I'd love to recreate and make myself the same top. Part of the reason was because of the price. When I seen the price for it, that's kind of what pushed me to see if I can recreate my own that will look just as good. Currently it's on sale for £1,177. That is crazy. I'm not sure if I could even justify, if I had the money, buying a top for that price. Maybe, maybe not. But it's a viscose and polyester blend. The majority of the mix is viscose, and it also has some polyester in there. I'm not sure why it costs so much, but I thought it would be fun to recreate my own. I shared my version recently on Instagram, which I made in an ivory color out of some lycra fabric. In today's tutorial, I'm going to show you how you can make your own version of this top, but I'm going to be using this wine colored. They didn't have any other colored lycra in my local fabric land, and I wanted to choose a color to get away from the neutrals, but also I went for this color because it's a color that I've seen trending quite a bit for 2024. So for this project, I drafted my own pattern, and I did this from just basically tracing a top that I already own. There's plenty of tutorials here on YouTube that show you how you can clone your own clothes to create something new. So I'm not going to go into too much detail about it, but I am going to show you how you can clone a piece of clothing that you own to recreate something else. So enough of me rambling on as I normally do, guys. Let's get into today's video. So to make your dupe, what you're going to need is a top that you already own, a long sleeve one preferably that you like the fit of, and you're also going to need some paper to draw your pattern on. You can also use a tracing wheel or a pencil to draw your pattern out, but yeah. And you may also need some measuring stuff, your tape measure, your pattern master, etc. So here is my drafted pattern. As you can see, it only requires 3 pieces. We've got 2 arms that are cut on the fold. We also have a front and back, which are also cut on the fold. And then we have our over the shoulder piece, which is also cut on the fold. And you can make these to your preferred measurements. I've made my pattern without any seam allowance. As you can see, I've got a note to add seam allowance to each of my pieces. So I'm going to show you quickly how you can draft or clone your own pattern. Taking your pattern paper, you want to lay it out flat. Hope I can explain this well, guys, but here we go. So what we want to do is create a flat top. We're not sewing any shoulders, it's just going to be straight across. So what we're going to do is fold it over like so. I've got my pin in there because I've already used this top before, so I know just how much I want to fold it over by. So we fold over our top, and what we then want to do is pin this in place so it stays exactly where we've put it. What you can do is sort of put your top up to you so you can see how far down it comes when you fold it, just to make sure you're getting the right sort of measurements for your body. I totally eyeballed mine when I first made it, and I stuck the pin in there, so I know that this should be pretty much okay. Once we've done that, we want to lay our top out flat. Now this is cut on the fold, so if you've got a top that you can easily fold and it doesn't bulk much, you can just fold it in half, like so. Once you've got it folded nicely and set in place, what you then want to go and do is trace it. And I'm going to be using my tracing wheel instead of pencil first. And I just find this easier. But we can then just go ahead and trace the outline of our top. Obviously mine is a bodysuit, so I can add on a few inches when I'm done. Do now is just take my pencil and trace around, just go over roughly what we've traced. Obviously, you would make this to your preferred measurements and length and everything like that. I'm just showing you how you can go ahead and clone a piece of clothing that you already own to make this pattern if you're not sure how to already do it. As I said, there are plenty of YouTube tutorials on how you can do this if you wanted to see something a bit more in depth. But this would then be the front and back of our bodice, which we would cut on the fold ×2. And we need the grain line to be in this direction. Done the front and back, you then need to do the sleeve, which may be a little bit more tricky. I'm gonna see if we can fit it on the same page. This is where a tracing wheel comes in more handy for me than a pencil. And then I'll do exactly what I did, trace out the arm of my top. And there we have our arm, and what we also want to do is cut our arm on the fold on the non-curved edge. So we're not cutting it on this edge, we're cutting it on the straight edge. All right, we also want our grain to be in this direction, and we cut ×2. Now, how I came up with the measurements for my over shoulder piece, guys, was just above my bust, measuring shoulder to shoulder. And I also measured my desired length as well. My measurements across was 21 inches and going down, or lengthwise I should say, is 16 inches. I didn't want my over the shoulder piece to just be flat. I wanted it to have some gathers in there. So I went for I added some extra length to it. But depending on how you want yours to fit you would be, dependent on what measurements you choose. And then you would cut it on the fold. It should be a rectangle. You don't want to end up with a square. So I hope that makes sense. Here's my piece that I made already. This is from my pattern piece, as you can see. And you also, this is the most important part, that you need to make sure this piece, because it's going over our shoulders, that the direction of the stretch is going across. As you can see, I've marked it on my pattern piece. But our stretch needs to be going widthwise, not lengthwise, all right? You can use 2-way or 4-way stretch for this project, guys, but one of the important things to note is that you need the stretch to be going widthwise, and the reason for that is we need to get it over our shoulders, or it needs to sit nicely on our shoulders. I've got just over 1 meters of fabric here, which is more than enough to get this project completed. The front and back are cut on the fold, and so are the sleeves. Make sure when you're cutting you have your fabric right sides facing, and you'll need to cut ×2 front and back. As you can see, I need to add my seam allowance because I've not added it to this pattern piece. So if you don't add seam allowance to your cut pattern piece, then remember to add it to your fabric before cutting, otherwise your top will be too small and not fit as desired. So I'm going to go ahead and add my seam allowance before cutting.
I'm really looking forward to developing this pattern as I go on and make more versions of this top, guys. As you may notice, I haven't added any elastic to create the ruching effect that you may notice in the original top. I wanted to keep it basic and focus on getting the fit right, and then I can add all the other details as time goes on. I also wanted to make it a beginner-friendly tutorial, so hence I've kept it simple to start with, but I do look forward, as I said, to developing this as time goes on.
One of the other things I love about this top, guys, is that it doesn't involve much pattern pieces. We've got our fold over shoulder piece, we have our 2 sleeves, and we also have our front and back. That's 5 in total. I hate cutting out fabric, and the fact that this is only 5 pieces, I love. So we're gonna start by taking our front and back pieces and placing those together right sides facing. Now we've got our side seams done, we're going to take this to our overlocker and overlock just the side seams. I don't know if they still make these overlockers, guys, but this machine in particular used to belong to my nan, God rest her soul, and it's still serving me well today. I'm not sure how long she owned it for, but it's still going strong. I've serviced it once last year. I probably need to get it done again at some point this year, but this is my overlocker. It's the Toyota SL3404D, and I have no plans on replacing it anytime soon because, as I said, it serves me so well.
I realized after adding my seam allowance that I only actually added 1 centimeter instead of 1.5 because I was using my pattern master. So what I had to do was lessen my seam allowance when it came to sewing it on the overlocker, just to make sure that I still had enough room and my top would fit me as I desired and not be too small.
Now we've got both of our sides overlocked. The next thing we want to do is add our sleeves, or should I say overlock our sleeves. So we need to overlock our sleeves right sides facing, and then we will attach them. So let's go ahead and pin. Now we have our sleeves pinned, we can go ahead and overlock them.
If you don't have an overlocker like me, you can still sew your seams by using a zigzag stitch. Make sure you also have a stretch needle in your machine when sewing with stretch fabrics.
Once we've done our sleeve, guys, what we then want to do is turn our front and back piece right side out. And now we are going to go ahead and attach our sleeves. So we also want to turn our sleeves right side out. And because, as you can see, it's identical no matter which side you're working from, we just want to go ahead and match our seams up pin together, and then overlock.
Once you've got all your pins in place, you want to take it to your overlocker and overlock the seam with the inside of your sleeve facing up.
Now that we've got both of our sleeves done, and don't we just love matching seams? Our top should be looking something like this. I probably should give it a good press at this point. And the next part we need to do is to attach our shoulder piece. Taking our shoulder piece, we want it to be right sides facing, and we're gonna pin and then overlock together just like we have our side seams and our sleeves.
Another thing I would also suggest doing at this stage, guys, is overlocking the hem of your shoulder piece, so that way it saves you having to do it once you've attached it to the main body of your top.
Because we are going to be attaching our shoulder piece rather than tucking in this loose thread, I'm just going to snip them off, because this seam will be secured once we attach our overlock, once we attach our shoulder piece. While you still got your shoulder piece folded, give it a little snip on one of the ends, which will allow us to evenly put it or match it up to the main body piece. This seam will be our center back. I've gone ahead and made notches in my front and back piece in the center, so you might want to go ahead and do that right at the beginning when you've got it on the fold. I forgot to mention that. So when you've got your pattern piece on the fold, once it's cut out, make sure to put your notch in the center of it. To make sure that our seams are going to be hidden when our shoulder piece is folded over, we're going to be attaching it right side to wrong side. So you want to get the center back seam matched with your notches, and you want to pin. You then want to get your shoulder also match that. You want to match your other shoulder. It's not often we're matching right side to wrong side, guys. It is usually wrong to wrong side or right to right side, but for this top we're doing something a little bit different. So you just want to go ahead and make sure you pin all the way around wrong side to right side, and that is the right side of your shoulder piece to the wrong side of your main body piece. Align your edges. And once we've got our shoulder piece pinned all the way around, we want to go ahead and overlock with our main body piece facing up. Now I like to start at my center back and go all the way around. What we can go ahead and do now is overlock our edges before we finish them up with a twin needle, and then we can turn everything in right sides facing. So our top is starting to take shape, guys. I've gone ahead and overlocked our hems before we now give it a press and add our twin needle stitching. Now my pattern piece says a 2 centimeter seam allowance, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and give myself a seam allowance of 1.5 centimeters for my sleeve hem instead. And just mark that on the right side of my fabric, front and back. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and fold over wrong sides facing. And pin in place. So as I'm pressing, I'm taking my pins out. Don't iron over your pins, guys. It doesn't help your fabric. I used to iron over my pins. It leaves marks in your fabric, so you don't want to do that. So now that I've given it a good press, I'm going to take it to my machine and we are going to give it a twin needle stitch. For some reason, guys, my twin needle is skipping stitches. I've tried playing around with the tension and everything. I'm not sure why this is happening, but because I want to go ahead and get this tutorial wrapped up, we're going to go ahead and try on our top, because at this point it is finished. So let's go ahead and try it on. And here she is, guys, my version of the Zuri top by Khaite, or should I say my dupe of the Zuri top by Khaite. One of the best things about being able to sew is literally being able to recreate anything you see that inspires you, and this top is a perfect example of that. So I really do hope that this video helps you to go away and start recreating things for yourself at a fraction of the price. I will be dropping any useful information in the description box below. If you have any questions, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer them. If you found this tutorial helpful, guys, please hit that like button. Also, drop a comment and let me know what you think of the final result. Don't forget to share and also subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Ooh, la, la, la.